Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. And in that studio this morning, we're talking about the 12th night. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thanks for being Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And boy, am I glad that you've joined us this morning because we have a lot to cover. We're going to be hearing in the 7 o'clock hour from Elmira College. They're putting on a adaptation, is that the right word, of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. We're going to hear a little bit about that in the 7 o'clock hour. Of course, we're going to be talking about Iran. I have a lot of New York State updates as well. We do have some crazy stories to start with that we're going to be getting to. Just no way to segue, not really breaking news, but nonetheless, stories that I find necessary to start the program with. First of all, let's go to a viewer comment. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. If memory serves me correctly, isn't today your third 3-year anniversary on TV? Have a great day. You're close. It's actually tomorrow. No real big celebration planned. I just want to spend the time with you. So tomorrow we'll have been on TV 3 years, which is unbelievable. Here with Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV, Big Fox. So, but thank you for the early wishes. I do appreciate that. In a real breaking story from yesterday, before we get into the kind of the crazy stories, with the tanker traffic through the world's key oil corridor, the Strait of Hormuz, halted, the International Energy Agency announced yesterday that it will let loose 400 million barrels of stockpiled fuel in an attempt to buttress global oil supplies and ease prices. The IEA Executive Director Faith Birol said the oil market challenges we are facing are unprecedented in scale. The decision to release more stockpiled oil than ever before was unanimous among the IEA's 32 member nations, which include the U.S., Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Turkey, Japan, Korea, and most of Europe. The move more than doubles the previous record of 182 million barrels set after Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. This is only the 6th emergency oil release in the 52-year history of the IEA. So an actual breaking major story. Okay, now you're going to be excited about this. Buckle up. I hope everybody's tuned in. I hope they start right at 6. I hope they don't miss this. Because we actually have an update on the world's greatest mayor, the Dalton dictator. Do you remember this from, well, more last year, and I want to say the year before, we mentioned, and we brought this up in the context, I should say, of why it's important to know who you voted for. Because Tiffany Henyard, what she did was she became the mayor and I think town supervisor, it'll probably say in this piece, and she called herself the world's best mayor, the super mayor, and she put up almost what would look like propaganda art throughout the town at taxpayers' money. She started spending lavishly. A lot of it seemed to be personal when they wanted to audit because they went from a surplus to a deficit, a major deficit, almost overnight because of her spending. When they voted to do an audit, she vetoed that audit. Well, anyway, she was voted out, if you recall. There was also improprieties with using, I think, police for protection and to kind of strong-arm people into donating to her fundraising apparatus. Well, disgraced Dalton dictator Tiffany Henyard has now dumped the Democratic Party and, get this, is running as a Republican in Georgia in an attempted political comeback over a year after her embarrassing ouster in Illinois. Henyard, who described herself as a super mayor, filed to run as a Republican in Georgia's Fulton County Board of Commissioners election in May, according to county election records. The 42-year-old is vying for the district's 5th commissioner seat and is one of 5 current contenders, but is the only GOP candidate. So I would say don't think that she switched her political allegiance. This was probably to make it easier on her to run, that's what it would seem like, run for this office, and maybe at the same time dupe people that don't pay attention into saying, well, I don't recognize that name. Being a Republican, she'll be fiscally conservative. Quite the opposite. District 5 encompasses the southwestern suburbs of Atlanta, including South Fulton, Union City, and Palmetto. President Trump's Georgia rival, Fani Willis, is a district attorney of Fulton County. Henyard qualified for the ballot on March the 5th, over a year after her heavily celebrated ouster from Illinois politics that included her scandal-scarred stints as mayor of Dalton and supervisor of Thornton Township. Okay, here we go. Let's go through some of this history. In her roles, Henyard faced a plethora of damaging accusations, according to the New York Post. She claims she oversaw off-the-rails spending, allegedly making more than $43,000 in Amazon purchases in a single day, while the municipality's finances were in shambles. $43,000 in Amazon purchases in one day. The FBI launched an investigation into Henyard in 2024 following the allegations. She was also accused of misusing taxpayer money on lavish trips and her own $1 million police detail. But a probe into the finances was vetoed by her, the sitting mayor. She has consistently defended herself against the stinging criticism and accusation, calling the backlash a smear campaign and blasting it as fake news. Her downfall was complete when she lost the Democratic primary for Thornton supervisor and the Dolton mayoral Democratic primary to current mayor Jason House back in February of 2025. Has it been that long? February of last year, so it was really our first year on the air that we were talking about the super mayor. She introduced the political rebirth in a project called Project Phoenix during a Facebook Live yesterday, saying her critics and the fake news couldn't stop her. She shared that she moved to Georgia and was ready to change Atlanta and the encompassing Fulton County, saying, quote, Project Phoenix is me rising, me showing the world what it looks like to come out of controversy, me showing the world like when they keep trying to dirty your name up, you keep going. Don't you ever give up. Henyard claims she was working to fix Fulton County's notorious jails that have been ignored for decades by current leadership. Okay, we got someone that says tech difficulties on your end. It looks like it's coming on over my end. Is anybody else having any difficulties? Because if so, I'll save this story for later when we get it fixed, because I don't want to miss out on telling you all about the Dolton dictator. She said the residents are tired. They are looking for a new leader, new leadership. They're looking for new direction. They're looking for somebody that provides hope and change and actually do what they said they were going to do, and that's Tiffany Henyard. Anyone that knows me knows I put on for my city. They know that if I'm coming, we coming. And they know that once we start making noise, the change will happen, because you can't expect change without making change. The Illinois native claims she had experience from her previous position in Dolton and Thornton Township to be a commissioner in Fulton County, saying, quote, I have the real power, the energy, the know-how. I have everything it takes to help the people. So this is a prime example of doing your research. The show's coming through. Is anybody else having technical issues? Fine here. Yeah, so it must be, I'm not sure. Over antenna, it seems to be fine. But the disgraced Dolton dictator, Tiffany Henyard, runs for office now as a Republican. Again, making it easier because it sounds like she's the only Republican running, number one. Maybe convincing people that she is a quote-unquote fiscal conservative, which she's not, clearly not. Hence those numbers I've read to you. This is a prime example of why you need to do your research. Also, and by the way, this is a major local election year. A lot of the candidates, as you are aware, and you've seen already, even though it's still petition season, we've already had numerous guests on where this is your home to find out about the candidates before you head to the booth, either during the primary, because I see there's already quite a few primary challenges, or in the general election. So make sure that you stay tuned here. And if there's anybody you want me to interview, or if you yourself are a candidate, please reach out to that number on the bottom of your screen and let me know. Okay. There's no way. Absolutely. Okay, good. It's everything tech issue was on their end. Okay, great. No way to segue, but since we're telling you wacky stories to start off this Thursday morning edition of Frankly Speaking, if you're in Ohio, it is apparently Bigfoot season. Both the New York Post and Fox News reporting that numerous reported sightings of Bigfoot, which are said to be up to 10 feet tall, have been reported in the gloomiest corner of the state, leaving believers on edge. Some are even suspecting an entire family of Sasquatches could be migrating through the region. At least 7 Bigfoot sightings have been reported across northeast Ohio since Friday. 7 Bigfoot sightings have been reported across northeast Ohio since Friday, according to the minds at the Bigfoot Society, with most of the encounters coming between Akron and Youngstown in Portage County. One of the latest alleged incidents happened Monday evening in Streetsboro, where the witness insisting she hasn't seen any of the other reports of the sighting, saying they were passing the Tinkers Creek area when a 6.5-foot lean brown Bigfoot appeared in their lane, but going against the flow of traffic, said Bigfoot Society's Jeremiah Byron. They were so close that the witness said that her daughter could have reached out and hit the Bigfoot with her arm. She was so freaked out, she couldn't turn around and go back. She is not a Bigfoot person. Surprising no one, perhaps, none of the Bigfoot spotters have managed, you guessed it, to snap a photo, despite all the high-resolution cameras on modern smartphones, and no reports have been made with local police. One person said on Bigfoot Society's Facebook page, "Who would have known the cell phone cameras don't exist in Northeast Ohio? The sightings appear to be progressing eastward, leading the Bigfoot Society to posit a green highway theory that a family of big feets were migrating through the area." Okay, I know I spent too much. There's too much stuff going on in the real world to spend this much time on it. But the four more sightings over the following days through Tuesday morning, one of which left somebody's German Shepherd visibly shaking with fear after encountering the alleged beast in a backyard. Others, however, thought that even these beasts, even if they were real, they wouldn't be around for long, given the rough reputation of Northeast Ohio, that they're not going to make it past Youngstown. All right, yep, I know. All right. Enough on that. Also, just in time for a good summer read, Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, is breaking her silence about Joe Biden's decision to abruptly end his re-election bid in her new book, which is interesting. If you see the cover, it's just her. There's no picture of Joe on it. But a political spouse for nearly 50 years, Jill Biden said she has never publicly discussed her feelings about the 3-week stretch when her husband ended his political career, instead saving her thoughts for the pages of her soon-to-be-released memoir. How convenient. The book, titled View from the East Wing, a memoir, is scheduled to be published June 2nd. She said to the Associated Press, "The book is a reflection of my 4 years as First Lady. It was kind of cathartic for me to write it. And I wrote about all the, sometimes painful, but other times, most of it really beautiful moments that Joe and I shared during his presidency." Now, Jill Biden declined yesterday to discuss any of those moments, good or bad, including watching her husband work his way to the decision to end his 5-decade-long political career by dropping out of the presidential race. Anyway, well, let's face it, this will undoubtedly sell a lot of books, because people want to know what she has to say about those final moments. All right. Enough on that. We'll get to the serious news when we return. A lot about the SAVE Act. Quite a few things about the SAVE Act. Also, we are going to talk about Iran. Yesterday, it was reported that there is a real fear with these kind of sleeper cells and things like that of drone attacks in California. Real fears of that. Gavin Newsom, the governor, downplayed it. President Trump saying he's monitoring the situation. We're going to talk about that. We also have quite a few New York State updates. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselsen's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselsen swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat, live on stage. The world's #1 Cat in the Hat show is coming to North America. Young and old alike will delight in this brand new adaptation of the Dr. Seuss classic as it comes to life before your very eyes. The Cat in the Hat.
March 25th at the Clemens Center in downtown Elmira. Tickets at clemenscenter.org.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Whether you're in the market for new, used, or certified pre-owned, Simmons Rockwell locations across the Twin Tiers have more of what you're looking for with our best price right on the windshield. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
Hello, you will feel the difference out there today. About 30 degrees cooler than yesterday, with the temperature struggling to reach 40, west-northwest wind, and partly cloudy skies. So what we have is a seasonable day, but break up from what we see more recently, bottoming out in the low and mid-20s tonight, then going into Friday, mid-40s, still very average for this time of year. We'll have a bump to temperatures here and there, including Sunday and
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Regarding the self-named super mayor, disillusionment comes to mind, among others, like grandiose fantasy, or delusions of grandeur, either way. And unfortunately, it looks like Georgia will be stuck with another shallow-minded Democrat. Well, what's interesting, I don't think so. I'm just, the only positive I'm taking away from the story is that we get to report on it for the next few months, because I think she's doing it just so she won't have to go through a primary. Because it said there was 4 Democrats, I think it was, 4 Democrats and her switching parties to Republican. Just politically speaking, it's more expedient for her to do that. It's not because she's actually Republican. But I have a feeling the other 4 Democrats may be a little bit better suited for it, but who knows? Crazier things have happened. We weren't that sure that she wouldn't win re-election. But we will report on her in the future, I'm sure. Comment from a different viewer. I have to wonder if the Bigfoot people and the super mayor get together for dinner. Oh, yes, the Bigfoot Society. I mean, birds of a feather stick together, and crazy is crazy after all. Maybe. They would be. Good question, man. That's a good, you had the good segue. I said I didn't have any segue. There it was. And finally, Steve writes in and says, good morning. Good morning, Steve. Doesn't it occur to anyone to have to release all the reserves because they ran out of room because of what happened? That could very well be. Thank you very much. It was reported yesterday that Pam Bondi, this is so troubling, how this is a common theme in the Trump administration, that Pam Bondi had to be relocated to a military base after a wave of threats from drug cartels and those angry over her handling of the Jeffrey Epstein probe. So those that are kind of far radical left find themselves in the same group as the drug cartels threatening Pam Bondi. Unidentified sources close to Bondi confirmed to the New York Times that the Attorney General moved from an apartment in D.C. to a military base in the past month due to security concerns following the capture of Nicolas Maduro. Ms. Bondi is the latest administration official to move into heavily guarded quarters at military facilities in or near the nation's capital after citing danger from criminals, adversaries overseas, and protesters. Other officials who have relocated include Stephen Miller, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Kristi Noem, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Daniel P. Driscoll, the Army Secretary, has also moved into military housing, as has Navy Secretary John Pellon, whose home in Washington was damaged in a fire last year. Okay, let's go to the SAVE Act. This came in, it bothers me, because we could have brought this up on yesterday's program, but I missed it. And I'm hoping that you missed it all day, so I'm not giving you old news. But John Cornyn, who's up in that tough runoff election, where there's reports that President Trump was originally going to endorse him, but then loved the idea, and I think it's Paxton, right, that's running against him, loved the idea that Paxton said he would drop out if senators dropped the filibuster and voted on the SAVE Act. So now Trump's kind of stayed out of it for now, but said that was a brilliant move and really impressed not just Trump, but his administration. Well, John Cornyn wrote this yesterday, and this is at the New York Post. I'm sure it was elsewhere. Remember, he's in a tough re-election campaign, so I'm not sure if this is where he normally stands, but here goes. If a man takes a swing at you and barely misses, that doesn't make him a pacifist. It just means he has bad aim. Standing still and giving him a second free swing wouldn't be wise or honorable. It would be foolish. In 2022, Chuck Schumer and 47 other Senate Democrats tried to change the rules of the U.S. Senate and nuke the filibuster to ram through a left-wing takeover of election laws. They were just barely stopped by two holdout Democrats who were promptly driven out of their party and into retirement. In 2024, Schumer confirmed to reporters that Democrats mean to finish the job and kill the filibuster's 60-vote threshold the next time they take the majority. For many years, I believed that if the U.S. Senate scrapped the filibuster, Texas and our nation would stand to lose more than it would gain. My fellow conservatives and I have proudly used the 60-vote threshold to protect the country from all sorts of bad ideas and dangerous policies. But when the reality on the ground changes, leaders must take stock and adapt. Today, Democrats are weaponizing the Senate's rules to block the Save America Act, to fund the Department of Homeland Security, and hurt the American people, all to spite President Donald Trump. But they say openly that if these same rules ever get in Democrats' way, they won't hesitate to rip them up. A rule is only a rule if both sides follow it. And this is a great point. I believe that Democrats, with their votes and statements, have already dealt the filibuster a fatal blow. The Senate rules will change eventually, whether Republicans like it or not. This leaves conservatives with two options. We can either unilaterally disarm, or we can stand and fight. We can let the Democrats keep obstructing today and then smash the rules the first chance they get, or we can act now and use the mandate the American people gave this president and this Congress to secure our elections, protect our homeland, and bring back common sense. The answer is clear. We need to stand, fight, and win. Democrats started this fight. Now Republicans should finish it. When 48 Democrats nearly killed the filibuster, it was to pass radical legislation designed to increase election fraud. They tried to ban voter ID requirements, to decriminalize ballot harvesting, and even to send taxpayer dollars into Democrats' own campaign funds. The Save America Act, which I've co-sponsored, would do the opposite. It would make it easy to vote but harder to cheat by requiring proof of citizenship and voter ID. By the way, if you're just joining us, this is John Cornyn. These basic common sense protections are massively popular with the American people, and the fact that the radical left apparently sees them as such a threat to their chances in November truly gives their game away. The president has made the Save America Act his number one priority, and he is right. But it's also urgent to overcome other aspects of the far left's obstruction. Americans are being forced to wait in line for 3 hours at airports at the security checkpoints because the Democrats are blocking funding for Homeland Security and immigration law enforcement. Bad enough that Democrats' political tantrum is ruining travelers' days, but at this time of hostilities with Iran, their financial siege of DHS is not just inconvenient, it's dangerous. Texans don't need more endless discussions over Washington rules that Democrats have already promised to break. Talk is cheap. They need leaders who get results, and results are exactly what I've been proud to help President Trump deliver during both of his terms. I partnered with the president to cut taxes for working families, rebuild our military, stop inflation, transform the courts, and secure our borders. Now this success story needs its next chapter. After careful consideration, I support whatever changes to Senate rules that may prove necessary for us to get the Save America Act and Homeland Security funded past the Democrats' obstruction, through the Senate, and on to the president's desk for his signature. This could be a talking filibuster that removes the obstructionists' free pass and makes them defend their indefensible views on the Senate floor, or it could be a different reform. Process matters, but outcomes matter more. The Democrats' assault on election integrity and national security must be stopped. Leadership means upholding core principles and applying them thoughtfully as circumstances change. I spent years defending the filibuster because the 60-vote threshold was a net benefit to Texas and our nation. Before moderate Democrats went extinct, the rules worked. But as Abraham Lincoln once warned Congress, the dogmas of the quiet past can become inadequate to the stormy present. The Democrats' recklessness and radicalism have changed the landscape. On these critical issues at this critical hour, the old procedures no longer align with the core American principles we must defend. It is time for our Senate Republican Conference, led by our strong and strategic Majority Leader John Thune, to retake the initiative, rebuild momentum, and get results. I respectfully urge the remaining handful of my Republican colleagues still holding on to the old position that I used to share to reassess the new reality and update their thinking. We should use the authority the voters have entrusted in us to pass the Save America Act, fund Homeland Security, and bring the far left's obstruction to an end. Very well put by John Cornyn. And he's right. I love that line at the beginning. If a man takes a swing at you and barely misses, that doesn't make him a pacifist. It just means he has bad aim. Standing still and giving him a second free swing wouldn't be wise or honorable. It would be foolish. And that's exactly what Chuck Schumer has signaled. Democrats have signaled that they will end the filibuster as soon as they get the majority. So why wait for that when we can pass the Save America Act? We can fund, the Department of Homeland Security and get so many other parts of Trump's agenda through. It seems at this point to be a no-brainer. I know some people disagree on that. They want to see the filibuster rule stay in effect, kind of the old way of doing things, and I understand that. It's just, to Cornyn's point, those days have passed because it's only a matter of time when that is quote-unquote nuked. So do we do it now so we can pass the Save America Act? I will pose that question to you. Now, when we return, we're going to hear from David Marcus real quick about Senator Thune, the majority leader, and his not acting on the SAVE Act because they know it's not going to get to the 60-vote threshold. Not even talking about the talking filibuster, not talking about nuking the filibuster. So we'll just talk about that quickly. I know we need to get to, about to say, Iran, but also I want to talk about Trump's rally yesterday. So we still got a lot to cover. We're just getting started, and I'm running late, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
To the me I used to be, before talking to 988.
I felt alone.
I thought seeing hard things was just part of the job. I thought that having a bad day at work meant I was failing. But then I connected with someone at 988.
A real person texted back. Someone listened without judgment.
Now I know. Now I know it's okay to let someone help me too.
And I'm stronger than I thought.
We hear you. Call, text, or chat 988.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Give kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Getting great comments in this morning. I really do appreciate it. By the way, we got a couple announcements that I need to get to. But first of all, if you missed yesterday's interview with Chemung County Executive Chris Moss, that is up on our YouTube page. It's also at WYDCTV.com because we're already starting election season. The two men vying, in this case, Moss running for re-election to executive, Mark Margison primary challenging him. So we've had those candidates on. If you know anybody that wants to be on the program before either the primaries or election day, please get a hold of me. You know we want to be a resource for that. Okay, wow, so many comments coming in. And I do appreciate this. Let's get right to them. No time to waste. Good morning, Frank. Governor Hochul has a bill awaiting approval. It's S-362. It's a bill to make it mandatory 10-day waiting period to buy a gun. If you want to fight this, send an email to the governor and your elected officials. Well, yes, send it to, and thank you, Mark, for the good morning. Here's the problem. So I looked it up because I want to do a little research. The bad news, according to NewYorkSenate.gov, it has passed both the Assembly and the Senate. So essentially, it's just waiting to be delivered to Governor Hochul's desk to then be signed by the governor. So the current bill status is, oh no, wait, hold on. I may be reading this wrong. This is really wonky the way they have this designed. Okay, so it's introduced, it's in the committee in Senate. You're right, Mark, I apologize. It's on the floor calendar in the Senate. So then it needs to go to pass the Senate, and it hasn't been to the Assembly yet. Okay, now I understand their system. Wow, that's a crazy looking system that they have at NewYorkSenate.gov. Okay, sorry. See, we're doing it live on the air. We correct ourselves live on the air. Unlike CNN and others, we don't go to Twitter to correct ourselves. We go live right on the air. So yes, you're right. It's waiting to be passed in the Senate, but then it looks like as if it has to go to the Assembly, which with one-party rule, not a good sign, but contact your representatives, contact specifically Governor Hochul, and tell her you are not interested in Senate Bill S-362. S-362. Thank you, Mark. Do appreciate that. We got a good morning, by the way. Oh, good morning, by the way. Thank you. Yes, I'm going to read your comments in just a moment. All right. Next up, regarding voter registration, when I registered to vote, I seem to recall that I had to show proof that I was not only a citizen, but was also eligible to vote in this or that district. Not only that, but when I voted in the 2024 elections, I had to show proof of by my license. How is it therefore that illegal aliens are not held to the same standards? Well, that's why, unfortunately, we need the SAVE Act, because I don't think in New York they just might have asked you, but it's not required to show an ID at this point. I don't remember when I signed up having to show ID, but that's not to say I didn't. I may have had to put my driver's license number on the card. I don't know. I don't think I have any voter registrations here, which I should at my desk. But I agree with you. We need to have IDs, and that's why the SAVE Act is so important. Next up, another unconstitutional law by Hochul. Where is the DOJ? Well, it's not there yet. But yes, I agree. If it passes the Senate, which I believe it will, and the Assembly, it will go to her desk, and I believe that she will allow it as well, that 10-day waiting period. But that's why we have to be vocal about it now. Yes, I agree with this viewer. All New York State websites are wacky. Yeah, that was such a weird way of showing it. Just a little dot. I thought it showed it progressing, but thank you. Continuing. Concerning the SAVE Act, if Thune and the rest want to get reelected, he needs to find a way to do his job. You're spot on, and it's like David Marcus and you are on the same page. David Marcus from Fox News, a columnist living in West Virginia. All right, here we go. Saved Jack's comment for last, saying, over 4 or 5 decades ago, I was fortunate enough to see possibly a Bigfoot at night in pouring rain alongside a highway in Delaware County. I think it was on the way to Delhi along the Cannonsville Reservoir, 20 miles of road through the wilderness. Our headlights caught a glimpse as it leaped over a guardrail like it was a tiny steeplechase bar. We both couldn't believe our eyes. Bigfoot or not, I have no doubt of something big that runs like a man. If I was by myself, I probably would have just disregarded it. Yeah, we're having a fun time on the show this morning. We're covering everything. Thank you for that. I do appreciate it, Jack. All right, before we go to our next break, and I tell you what David Marcus had to say. We had so many comments. That whole segment was by comments. But I know I told you this yesterday, but I need to give you a reminder. Last week, but I need to give you a reminder because you're not going to want to miss this. It's the 3rd annual Wienerville Benefit Night at the Corning Moose Lodge, this Saturday, 4 to 10 p.m. Now it's dine-in only, no takeouts. This is a blast. I went last year. I'm so excited to go this year. If you do attend, stop over and say hi. It's going to be you're going to have a great time. You're going to have a lot of fun. It's a hot dog and baked potato bar. It has all the toppings, all the fixings, everything you can imagine. There's going to be raffle baskets and 50/50s and live music by Wasting Time. So you go to the event, you have a blast, and the money raised goes to the Salvation Army of Corning, which, in full disclosure, it's very near and dear to my heart, being the chairman of the advisory board. And it's also going to Ronald McDonald House of Rochester, supporting families receiving care at Golisano Children's Hospital. So it's just $18. It's all the hot dogs and baked potatoes you can eat. Come hungry, bring your family and friends, and support 2 incredible causes. So $18 includes food and music. And let me tell you, what I love about this is, because I don't make hot dogs that often, it gives me the option to have all the toppings that you don't normally want to buy, because you know they'll just sit in your fridge and you're not going to use them because you don't eat that many hot dogs. If you're like me, in this case, you can have the craziest connection of different toppings on your hot dog. It's a fun event. Wienerville, this Saturday, 4 to 10 p.m. That's at the Moose Lodge in Corning. It's in Painted Post, so it's by the movie theater in Painted Post at the old Pizza Hut. So stop in and come over and say hi if you attend. Thank you to the Moose Lodge for all they do. All right, let's take a short break, and then when we return, David Marcus. Then we'll talk about Trump's rally, then Iran. We're having a fun time this morning. I hope you are as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
Hello, you will feel the difference out there today. About 30 degrees cooler than yesterday, with the temperature struggling to reach 40, west-northwest wind, and partly cloudy skies. So what we have is a seasonable day, but break up from what we see more recently, bottoming out in the low and mid-20s tonight, then going into Friday, mid-40s, still very average for this time of year. We'll have a bump to temperatures here and there, including Sunday and Monday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A viewer writes, maybe the Bigfoot was a bear standing on its hind legs. That could very well be the case. We will never know. All right, so David Marcus says about 60% of Texas Republicans voted last Tuesday to end John Cornyn's career in the Senate. But it wasn't really Cornyn they were rejecting. It was the feckless, do-nothing GOP Senate leadership that makes Waiting for Godot look like a Fast and Furious movie. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton wound up in a virtual tie with Cornyn and headed to a runoff precisely because Republican voters, not just in Texas, but across the country, are angry at the GOP-controlled Senate's inability to do, well, much of anything. Yeah, and Republicans get sick of that when they have the majority and nothing gets accomplished, and it's kind of a common trend. It's especially in Trump's first term. Remember when Paul Ryan was in the House, and we don't have to go through all that, but it does. It's like Republicans can't win even when they win. But I'll continue. The righteous fury is why Paxton's political play in the face of a runoff was so brilliant. He said that if the Senate would pass the Save America Act and its voter ID provisions, he would drop out, saving President Trump from having to swoop in with a decisive endorsement. If Cornyn, and more importantly for Senate Majority Leader John Thune, this occasioned a crisis, a much-needed one, in fact, as GOP voters stare across the desk at Senate leadership, asking if they can't pass a bill with massive public support, what would they say they do there in the Senate? Why are they getting paid? Why would people vote for them? Thune responded Monday to growing public calls to pass the Save America Act in the stupidest, most infuriating way possible, by asserting that voters aren't really angry and the fur is all just a campaign by paid influencers. Oh, I didn't know he said that on Monday. I like this. I'm not going to lie. Oh, no, it was Thune. I thought he said Cornyn. Thune. The fact that Thune has not apologized for this yet is incredible. It is as condescending to working class voters as anything a politician has ever done. Does Thune think that 60% of Republicans in Texas voting against the Senate status quo is a sign that they think he's doing a great job? It is not. All across the country, Republican voters tell me that they are outraged about the Senate. Yes, they understand the arcane 60-vote filibuster stuff. They just don't care. They want and need action from a body that refuses to even act. And it isn't just Paxton who knows in his bones how vitally GOP voters need a win on the Save America Act. It's also Trump, who has shown a rare amount of patience with Thune's ineptitude, at least so far. Even Cornyn has come around, if only in the face of his own potential political demise, penning that column that I mentioned. But Thune, with his long, sad face and low, mournful voice, like Eeyore the donkey, just keeps saying we don't have the votes to break the filibuster. Okay, John, then how about this? Any Republican senator who refuses to vote to break the filibuster loses their committee assignments, gets no money from the party, and is promised a primary. Maybe that's one way to light a fire? The most dangerous thing I heard from GOP voters in Texas, and I heard it from plenty, is that they are starting to think their vote just doesn't matter, that nothing can change anyway, and right now, who could argue with them? That's what creates the scenarios where people don't get out and vote. And then, you know who is active right now? You know who is ready to vote? The Democratic Party. Their hatred, of Trump is so powerful, they will vote for any Democrat come November. And now we have Republicans who are throwing up their hands and saying, do our votes even really matter? That is dangerous. And Thune should, if he doesn't know, he should be made aware. And I like this idea from David Marcus, that when you say you don't have the votes, do this. Take away their committee assignments. Say you get no money from the party. And by the way, we're going to find a primary. That would definitely change things very quickly. People's moral standings on the filibuster issue may just change in a hurry. I don't know who Thune surrounds himself with, who told him that the anger I see everywhere from Republican voters is just a paid influencer campaign. But I would argue to him to go talk to some actual voters instead of his K Street cronies. It was an ominous sign that more Democrats and Republicans voted in last week's deep red Texas primary, but not a surprise, because the demoralized aren't eager to vote. And if the Save America Act dies on the vine, even fewer will feel compelled to cast a ballot. In the final moments of waiting for Godot, Vladimir says, well, shall we go? To which some other character says, yes, let's go. And then the famous stage direction. They do not move. There's no direct evidence to show that Samuel Beckett was inspired by Senate Republican leadership when he wrote this, but he could have been, because it's the same old scene over and over. If nothing else, Thune needs to look GOP voters in the eye and say directly, we hear you, we know you are angry, we see it in the primary results, and we will listen to what you want and try to do better. Right now, Thune and Senate Republicans are like the inattentive husband who doesn't know the divorce papers have already been filed. It may not be too late to work it out with voters, but it's getting pretty close. I thought that was a great point by David Marcus. Did you happen to see, moving along from the SAFE Act, Trump at his rally in Kentucky? This was essentially a campaign stop because he wants Thomas Massie out. And I think yesterday when I was confused about the different moving pieces with Thom Tillis, it was I was thinking of Massie, I think. But President Trump renewed his love affair with tariffs at a rally in Kentucky. We'll tell you about that and a couple other things from that event, but not too much. Did you happen to watch it? I didn't. I totally forgot it was on. And I hate that. I love to watch them when they're live. But then we'll talk about Iran, the real threat of Iran, and what that fear is now that there could be a drone attack in California. We'll talk about that. Keep your comments, keep your waves coming in, and we'll be right back. We're having a fun time this morning. Stay with us.
Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat, live on stage. The world's #1 Cat in the Hat show is coming to North America. Young and old alike will delight in this brand new adaptation of the Dr. Seuss classic as it comes to life before your very eyes. The Cat in the Hat.
March 25th at the Clemens Center in downtown Elmira. Tickets at clemenscenter.org.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread misalignment. Highest hospitalization. Also evacuation in the western forced labor.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple comments from viewers earlier. Someone asked Jack, who Jack had said he saw Bigfoot with someone riding in the car with him years ago, that maybe it was a bear. Well, Jack says, sorry, but definitely not a bear. It was over 7 feet tall with long legs and strided over the guardrail like an athlete runner. Thank you very much, Jack. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Love the Bigfoot talk. I also had an encounter decades ago in the Adirondacks. Thanks for the change of pace and keep up the great work. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for the kind of words. I didn't expect it to take. I thought we'd be talking more about Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard, but it was a Bigfoot talk. It got everybody going this morning. I love it. All right, comment from a different viewer. I don't stare across the desk of the GOP. I stare at Schumer and his contrary comrades. That's fair. I think there's a lot of Republicans that just are frustrated that even when they win, that it doesn't feel like they win. And I'm afraid that can place an attitude is going to run into November. I do. You kind of start to feel it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope something changes, but that's where we're at right now. Comment from a different viewer. Oh, from Mark. He said, and to conclude, another way to fight Hochul's 10-day waiting period to buy a gun is on the New York State firearms site. Vote no, and it will send an email to Hochul and New York State senators. Thank you very much, Mark, for the tip. So Trump yesterday was at a rally in Kentucky where he professed his love to tariffs. At the freewheeling rally, which aren't they always, Trump also took aim at his foes and even crowned his next political star. The president boasted that he used the word tariff to threaten drug manufacturers to bring down the cost of prescription medicine, calling it a beautiful word, though no longer his favorite because of grief he received in the press. I used to say my favorite word, but the fake news killed me. They said, what about your wife? What about God? What about religion? What about your children? Okay, it's my 5th favorite word. Now I don't get in trouble. Oh, man, I feel bad that I missed this. Trump later stirred up his supporters with blistering attacks against Governor Gavin Newsom and Kentucky's own Representative Thomas Massie. Well, wouldn't you know where they were at? I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Hebron, Kentucky. That happens to be in Mr. Massie's district. The president accused Newsom, a potential 2028 White House hopeful, of being unfit for the Oval Office because he has mental problems. Of course, using the Gavin Newscum nickname, Trump claimed the Golden State governor admitted he has mental problems and he's not a smart person. And the way he presented that was so racist. You notice how the media switched off from that very quickly. Nothing's wrong with it, but I don't want the President of the United States to have a cognitive deficiency. When he admitted this, I said, I think he has lost the Democratic nomination. He is unable to read a speech. He can't read, and all the other things he said. He said he has a lot of mental problems. Nothing's wrong with it, but I don't want the President of the United States to have a cognitive deficiency. When he admitted this, I said, I think he just lost the Democrat nomination. He then went on to call Massey a loser who needs to be voted out of office immediately. And Massey has been a real fly in the ointment for the Trump administration, going against him in the press, going against him in votes over and over again, almost, reliably against Trump. He is the worst person, Trump said. And then he went on for a very long riff against Massey. There is something wrong with him. I just can't stand this guy. Well, I would say so if you're already campaigning against him in his district in March. Trump described the 7-term Republican congressman as a disaster for Republicans. The president has endorsed Massey's opponent, Ed Gallerine, in a May primary. Oh, yeah, so this would be May, that's right. And brought the candidate on stage with him during the rally, noting that Gallerine is strong as, we'll say, heck. He shook my hand is still recovering. Then at the end, he brought boxer and supporter Jake Paul on stage and predicted that Jake Paul would someday run for office, saying, I'm going to make a prediction that you will be, in the not-too-distant future, running for political office, and you have my complete and total endorsement. Jake Paul, who was born and raised in neighboring Ohio, told the crowd that the president had taught him the value of courage and to never back down from a fight. We need more factories like this thriving all over the country. And I know Trump's going to be the one to bring them here to us. The rally was delayed for several minutes midway through Trump's speech when an elderly woman in the crowd behind the president fainted. Dr. Oz, the head of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and a trained surgeon, came to the woman's rescue and helped bring her back to her feet. It's Dr. Oz, can you believe it? Trump said. When the woman stood up, Trump raised his hands in victory, saying, he's a good doctor. Thank you, Oz. Yes, Gavin, we got to take a break. A little bit more on this, and then we're going to wrap up. Hour number 1. This is going fast this morning. Stay with us. We will be right back.
An accident can turn your life upside down in an instant. Pain, medical bills, time off work, it's overwhelming. And when you look to the insurance company for help, they don't see you. They don't see your family or what you've lost. To them, you're just a number, just dollars on a spreadsheet. Their job is to pay you as little as possible. At WYDC Injury Law, we see the person behind the claim. We fight for your recovery, your future, and your peace of mind. If you've been hurt in New York, call 607-500-HURT.
Everyone has a ritual, that small thing that keeps us focused.
A habit we never skip to clear our minds and elevate our performance.
But what do you do to keep your head in the game, to drown out that self-doubt and support your mental health? Because being your best isn't just about taking care of your body.
It's about taking care of your mind and your mental health.
Discover the resources that you need to keep your mind focused and your mental health a priority.
Hello, you will feel the difference out there today. About 30 degrees cooler than yesterday, with the temperature struggling to reach 40, west-northwest wind, and partly cloudy skies. So what we have is a seasonable day, but break up from what we see more recently, bottoming out in the low and mid-20s tonight, then going into Friday, mid-40s, still very average for this time of year. We'll have a bump to temperatures here and there, including Sunday and Monday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And I've got to say, and I say this humbly and not braggadocious at all, but I think these next two comments are why this program is so unique. And if you're new to the show, tomorrow we celebrate 3 years. So if you're new to the show, welcome to the party. But the number on the bottom of the screen, you can reach out with your comments, your waves at any time, day or night. So here are the two comments back to back. And again, why I think this is like nothing you've ever seen before with Frankly Speaking. Comment from the first viewer. If they pass the 10 days waiting period to buy a gun, I'll just skip to Pennsylvania to buy one. And if I can't because of being a non-resident, I'll get a friend who is a resident to buy one for me. Forget the New York Democrats. They can take their nonsense, and I'm being nice, and shove it down their throats. Thank you. Now here's the second comment from a completely different viewer. And it's a question posed to all of us. Someone please explain to me why it is such a bad idea for a wait time to get a gun. I would think it might prevent a bad outcome. That's why I love this. This is a real town hall of the air. Thank you for your comment. I do appreciate that. So we pose that question. Someone please explain to me why it is such a bad idea for a wait time to get a gun. I would think it might prevent a bad outcome. Thank you. And keep those comments coming in because I don't know what it is. I should have saved all this energy and all this excitement and all this talk about Bigfoot for tomorrow, the 3-year anniversary celebration. Now, tomorrow on the program, we didn't really do a celebration. We will. You and I will celebrate together. But we will have a special guest, Horseheads Mayor Kevin Adams. I didn't think far enough ahead, or I would have still asked Mr. Adams to be on the program. But we should have got Phil, Joe, Jim Allard. We should have got the trifecta on. But well, that'll be for the 4-year anniversary. Okay, quickly. Again, Trump ripping Gavin Newsom at the rally, saying he has mental problems. He's unable to read a speech. You can't read all the other things he said. He said he had a lot of mental problem. Nothing wrong with it, but I don't want the President of the United States to have a cognitive deficiency. And the Jake Paul visit on stage. I thought Jake Paul, so he predicts Jake Paul is going to run for something and then says he's got his endorsement. But I thought what Jake Paul said was nice. He said, we need more factories like this thriving all over the country, and I know Trump's going to be the one to bring that here to us. I know God is with us. I know he wants us on the right side of history, and everyone here has to do their part. And God's got us. Trump's got us. God bless. That was a nice way to end the speech by Jake Paul. All right, coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking about Iran. I do have quite a few New York State updates that we need to get to. We're also going to hear from our friends from Elmira College telling us about the upcoming performance of an adaptation of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. You're going to hear all about that in the 7 o'clock hour. So stay with us. Hour number 1 in the books. We're having a blast this morning. I can't thank you enough for being a part of it. And we have hour number 2 coming up in mere moments. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we will be right back. As if you can't tell, I'm just trying to kill a few more seconds. Stay with us.
Allegiant's flight from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
Sophia A., grade 4, absent, because transportation was absent.
Julio M., grade 6, absent, because Wi-Fi was absent.
Maria J., grade 12, absent, because childcare for siblings was absent.
Jacob O., grade 12, absent, because housing was absent.
Aisha S.,
Olivia H.,
Darren L.,
Cole W.,
Preston L., absent.
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 Because healthcare, anti-bullying,
Mental health support was absent.
We're calling roll on the 15 million absent students.
Their reasons why are very real.
And yet the solution is a present, caring adult to help them along their path.
When communities and schools is present, 99% of our students are present and ready to learn.
And welcome to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hasselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. So, wow, look at all of this. All right. Some comments from viewers. I think the waiting period to buy a gun is a prime example of government stretching its authority way too invasively into our private lives. Now, if you're just joining us, I know some wake up for the 7 o'clock hour. Mark had brought up the fact that there's a bill in the Senate right now in New York State Senate, waiting to go to the Assembly and then to Hochul's desk that would put a 10-day waiting period to purchase a gun. So Mark suggested writing the governor, writing your senator and assemblyman, telling them that you disapprove. Well, we had a viewer in the last hour say, I'm paraphrasing, I apologize, saying what's so wrong about a waiting period? It could, stop something from happening if someone perhaps is overheated, angry about something. So, great question. So we posed it to the viewer. And this viewer saying, I think the waiting period to buy a gun is a prime example of government stretching its authority way too invasively into our private lives. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Kind of makes sense why Governor... I'll do that one next. I thought I had all the gun ones in a row. My apologies. Okay. The 10-day waiting period won't stop a bad outcome because crooks can illegally get a gun. And furthermore, it's against our Second Amendment rights. I would side with that, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. But there's no siding. I'm just saying that would be if I was to give the answer, that would essentially be my answer as well to that viewer. What else do we have? The answer is simple. It's a right given by the Constitution. Is there a waiting period for cars, knives, hammers, baseball bats? Of course not. Well, and to that point, I heard a really great argument about this yesterday, which, and again, I'm standing with the Constitution to that viewer, but I would love to hear more from that viewer. But is there a waiting period on your First Amendment rights? Is there a waiting period on you using your free speech? Do you say, well, I want to protest today. I want to protest whoever today, but I can't. I have to wait 3 to 5 days to 10 days, whatever, with all your same constitutional rights. And to that point, is there a waiting period for anything else? Hammers, baseball bats, other what could be deemed quote-unquote weapons. So thank you. Keep those comments coming in. All right, unrelated to the gun issue, comment from a viewer. Kind of makes sense why Governor Newsom can't answer a question, because if he has a learning disability, he doesn't understand anything. That's why he talks with his hands, because he's trying to make sense of things in his mind that is not comprehensible to him. How can he even be the governor of California? It's absolutely insane. Well, he has not done a good job in California. Even people in California aren't happy with him. But you know who loves him? The media. Katie Couric actually asked him if him being so good looking is going to be detrimental to his campaign. Katie Couric. That's the hard-hitting news that he's receiving on this potential run for president. So the media loves him, and that's why they're propping him up. That's why they downplayed or completely ignored the reason he brought up that dyslexia and saying that he can't read and do that. He brought it up in a very, well, let's say it, a racist way. Where he said it and who he said it to, it was despicable. But the media downplayed that. So the answer is the media loves him. Ken writes in, so what time should all your viewers meet you in your studio tomorrow morning for the 3-year, Frankly Speaking, anniversary extravaganza? 5:30? No one wants to come up at 5:30, but thank you, Ken. Just you stay home in the comfort of your homes, all of you, and just text and comment like we're having today, and that will be the best, Frankly Speaking, anniversary extravaganza we could ever ask for. So thank you, though, Ken. I do appreciate that. Yes, 3 years tomorrow. Hard to believe. Okay, we have not mentioned, just quickly in passing, Iran yet. Now, I think we brought up a little bit of this yesterday, but Iran is firing cluster munitions on Israeli cities in an attempt to overwhelm the air defenses. This is very troubling. This cluster munitions have been banned. Of course, that's not going to stop Iran. The weapons are more difficult to intercept, even for the Iron Dome defense system. This actually puts the private citizens in harm's way. This isn't about attacking soldiers. It's not about attacking defense bases, things like that. This is about doing the most damage on civilians. Iran has been repeatedly accused of using the weapon in civilian areas, a tactic banned by nations across the world as unexploded bomblets leave lasting dangers in their wake. While Israel has normally restricted full details of Iran's attacks, the Jewish state has released more information to educate the public about the dangers of unexploded bombs left behind by cluster munitions. Trump said yesterday that the U.S. must finish the job in Iran, warning that a weak, pathetic future president could allow Tehran to build a nuclear bomb. We don't want to leave early, do we? We got to finish the job, right? He said at that Kentucky rally. Someday, perhaps you'll have a weak, pathetic person like Barack Obama. Under the Obama deal, they would have had a nuclear weapon, and this world would right now be a different place. Trump said he believed he had permanently destroyed Iran's nuclear ambitions, but he said, after Midnight Hammer, we figured it'd be the end for them for a while, but they started again. That's why we got to finish it, right? We don't want to go back every 2 years. Now, Trump's Middle East envoy, this is really important. This hasn't really been making the rounds, but U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, described what he said was early threats and demands from Iran, and he told Hannity about this. Remember when there was the negotiations going on, and then one day the negotiations stopped, and the next day we all woke up to find out that we were bombing Iran. So that happened, the collapse. Witkoff offered the behind-the-scenes account of opening exchanges in the U.S.-Iran nuclear negotiations. He said Iran representatives opened by asserting an inalienable right to enrich nuclear fuel, a stance the U.S. delegation opposed by insisting that Iran should not enrich uranium at all. Yeah, you like someone said yesterday, you've got the world's most oil, almost, and you need nuclear for energy? Witkoff said Iranian negotiators declared they controlled roughly 460 kilograms of enriched uranium to about 60%, and that this material could potentially be further enriched towards weapons-grade levels in about a week to 10 days. He explained that enrichment beyond about 20% serves no civilian purpose and is associated with weaponization. Iran's negotiators told U.S. officials that the United States would not obtain through diplomacy what it could not achieve militarily, a remark he linked to June's Operation Midnight Hammer, which targeted Iranian nuclear facilities. Witkoff maintained that the country's 3 main enrichment and conversion centers were in fact destroyed, but Tehran has not publicly acknowledged such destruction. It was very, very clear to us that that amount of weapons-grade material, that they had every intention of seeking a weapon. It would not be logical to us to think anything else. The United States even offered to help Iran convert its nuclear endeavors to civil non-enrichment programs, and as a little extra, we suggested to them that we would provide fuel to them for free for a long period of time. But Iran called the offer an assault on their dignity, and he said, emphasizing that he viewed the stance as subterfuge to obscure their advance towards a nuclear weapon. Isn't it nice to have real negotiators in there, and not just someone like in the Biden administration, the Obama administration, just giving into Iran to try to appease them to not build a nuclear weapon? That's how they felt that they would have increased power in the Mideast, and it would have changed the dynamic in the Mideast, and we couldn't allow it. A second North Korea in the Mideast would have been untenable, and everybody on our foreign policy team knew it, and the president was very clear-minded about it. Now, Iran has declared that U.S. and Israeli economic and banking interests are in the region are their current targets. A spokesman for a group described as IRGC, owned by the United Nations, said on Wednesday that the enemy left our hands open to targeting economic centers and banks belonging to the U.S. and the Zionist regime in the region. It warned that people of the regime should not be within a 1-kilometer radius of banks. The Americans should await our countermeasures and our painful response. Now, we learned yesterday, and it was scary, that Iran's revenge terror attack plot on California with an army of drones was revealed in a terrifying FBI memo. They issued, meaning the FBI, issued an urgent warning to cops across California of a potential Iranian drone strike on the Golden State. Tehran was looking at deploying unmanned aircraft on the region as the country reels after the U.S. wiped out its supreme leader last month. The Bureau said in early February, agents had intelligence that drones could be sent from an unidentified vessel off the American coastline. California has the highest concentration of Iranian dissidents in the U.S., up to 500,000, but it's not clear if that is why the state could be targeted. The FBI said, we recently acquired information that as of early February of 2026, Iran allegedly aspired to conduct a surprise attack using unmanned aerial vehicles from an unidentified vessel off the coast of the U.S. homeland, specifically against unspecified targets in California, in the event that the U.S. conducted strikes against Iran. We have no additional information on the timing, method, target, or perpetrators of this alleged attack. The alert was sent to police departments across the region, but it does not make it clear where specifically they could be targeted. The FBI has declined to comment when asked by the New York Post. Now, first of all, before we tell you what President Trump had to say, Governor Gavin Newsom says there is no imminent threat to California after that memo was released. Okay. We recently, you don't need to hear about the memo again. I wonder why Gavin Newsom would say that. Newsom posted on social media that he is in constant coordination with security and intelligence officials over potential threats to California, including those tied to the conflict in the Middle East. While we are not aware of any imminent threats at this time, we remain prepared for an emergency in our state. President Trump later said on Wednesday that the government is investigating, saying it's being investigated, but you have a lot of things happening, and all we could do is take them as they come. Pressed if he has been briefed on the potential number of Iranian sleeper cells located within the U.S., the president told reporters, "I have been." Trump said he is monitoring the possible terror sleeper cells and the potential for Iran to attack California. But as he said, all we can do is take them as they come. The war itself is being prosecuted as well as anyone has ever seen. Is that the right word? That's interesting. I've been briefed on Iranian sleeper cells, and a lot of people came in through Biden with his stupid open border, but we know where most of them are. We got our eyes on all of them. Now, it is being reported, take it with a grain of salt, but Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, is described as being more dangerous. Jaber Rajabi, who previously studied at a religious seminary with Mojtaba, explained to the Jerusalem Post that he had previously stated, quote, if war breaks out, that Mojtaba will try to control the region. Rajabi, whose father fought in the Iraq-Iran war and whose mother worked for a short time in the office of Mojtaba's father, also warned that Mojtaba has a complete disregard for the value of human life and that he is obsessed with the end of days. Mojtaba at the time was very hypocritical. He says something, but inside him there is something totally different, Rajabi told the Post. He told The Atlantic that his former study partner was obsessed with the end of days and had believed he himself will have a special part in hastening humanity down that path. Oof. It is also noted that Mojtaba would have no problem killing thousands of his own people. He also has no problem killing thousands in Tel Aviv. If he can kill 13,000 of his own people, then he has no problem killing 100,000 in Tel Aviv. Because if you don't care about the lives of your own people, why would you care about the lives of others in Tel Aviv? That's a good point. Now, if you saw it, I know we reported on it yesterday. We had a lot of people mention this to us yesterday. When they had his grand ceremony for taking over, he was not there, scared that he could be taken out. They had a cardboard type cutout or a poster or something of him for the people to celebrate. Senator John Fetterman, who actually, I have more on him in a little bit later on in the segment. He has been so spot on lately. John Fetterman called for Israel to assassinate Iran's newly appointed Ayatollah and, quote, every last member of their leadership. Wow. He's more level-headed than some of the Republicans we've been talking about. They should kill him too, Fetterman said, of Mojtaba Khamenei, adding that the world is 100% better with his father dead. Now, Khamenei has not yet to appear publicly since the 88-member Assembly of Experts appointed him as Iran's new supreme leader. There were some rumors that they did not all want to appoint him, that he's kind of a dud as a person, but their hands were forced. But he was not at his, I don't know if you'd call it inauguration, whatever you would call it. Fetterman said he hasn't been able to produce a video or be seen in public at all. Why? Maybe they're seriously injured. It could be even harder for him to sit down and do a video and have them put that out. Hopefully he is significantly wounded, and if he does recover, I do absolutely support having Israel just eliminate him along with any other member of the leadership. I'm always going to support that. Fetterman also said President Trump gave Iran the opportunity to negotiate an end to the war, which they declined, and avoid all of these things. Wow, good for Fetterman on top. All right, we got a lot of comments coming in. Keep them coming in. Keep your waves coming in. We're having a blast this morning. I do appreciate it. More on Iran. We do have a lot to talk about with New York as well. So what we'll probably do is wrap up the next segment with Iran, go to our good friends from Elmira College, hear about that, and then we'll talk about New York State issues. That's kind of what the agenda looks like right now. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News for news, local events, and more.
Hi, this is Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Brought to you by Toyota, proud sponsor of the World Baseball Classic.
The free They Hear You mobile app and Screen for Success tool can help you turn everyday situations into opportunities to talk with your kids about alcohol and other drugs and identify if they need more support. Download the app today and keep your kids safe and healthy.
Plastic is flooding our planet, hurting wildlife and destroying delicate ecosystems. We can stop this by changing how plastic is made, used, and recycled, and building a better system from the ground up.
It's a beautiful day. Sky falls, you feel like it's a beautiful day.
A clean planet is possible. Let's build it together.
Hello, you will feel the difference out there today, about 30 degrees cooler than yesterday, with the temperature struggling to reach 40, west-northwest wind, and partly cloudy skies. So what we have is a seasonable day, but break up from what we see more recently, bottoming out in the low and mid-20s tonight, then going into Friday, mid-40s, still very average for this time of year. We'll have a bump to temperatures here and there, including Sunday and Monday, but colder yet on Tuesday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We are having fun this morning. All right, let's go to some viewer comments. Jack is wondering, once the Iran dust settles, will we be using the oil to rebuild the destruction? That means the refineries will need to be rebuilt also. Wondering what companies are already in the works. That's a great point. You've got companies that are already making the plans for, I'm sure, Venezuela. Why not also start making your plans for Iran? Comment from a different viewer. Sounds like the pipsqueak, Katie Couric, was trying to make a move on Newsome. Yes, that was in reference to, she was rightfully so criticized for it. Her question to Newsome, I got to say it the right way. You guys can say how you want. That is he too good looking? Is that going to be a problem for him in the campaign? That's the hard-hitting journalist you get from the left-wing media. Comment from a different viewer. No threat from Iran attacking California, just like there was no threat of fires. So they figured California didn't need any water for fighting the non-threat of fire. Not only is Newsome mentally deficient, he is absolutely clueless. Thank you very much. Now, Senator Tammy Baldwin called the Iranian strikes authorized by President Trump a, quote, war of choice and deemed them illegal. I was in that very same briefing, classified briefing yesterday, and what I can tell you is that what you hear out of Donald Trump's mouth over the last few weeks about his reasoning for taking military action in Iran are totally incongruous with, right? Yeah, with what we are hearing in those classified briefings. Wow. These classified briefings are talked about a lot and prove the point, like the viewer said yesterday. This is why he could not come to Congress before the attacks on Iran, because they would have blabbed to anybody they could tell. And Iran wouldn't have had, Khamenei and the 40-plus leadership in that same building? Anyway, I don't want to go through, but why am I reading here? Van Hollen, Senator Chris Van Hollen from Maryland, Democrat from Maryland, also called it an illegal and, in his mind, reckless war in Iran. We'll say heck no on any more money for the war. I mean, this is an illegal, reckless war making us less safe. And the best way to protect our interests and protect our troops is to stop funding a stupid war. So no, I won't vote for any more money for this war. Okay. Now, looking at the media's coverage of this, and yes, we're going to hear from Elmira College in just a moment. Iran is a test of who can take the most pain, according to the Associated Press. Okay. Well, the media is definitely doing everything they can to make you fearful of gas prices, to make you fearful of stocks, everything, because they want that quote-unquote pain to affect you so that you turn. I mean, it's all about politics. It's all about the midterms. Isn't that sad? Instead of taking out a threat to the United States, I mean, Iran wants a nuclear weapon. They have killed how many of our soldiers in the past? They've been at war with us for 47 years, essentially. They are only looking at this from the lens of November. They don't want us to take that person out. And I think, proving that point, I know I'm going to run a little late before our guest, but the New York Times put how Trump and his advisors miscalculated Iran's response to war. Well, John Fetterman, and I said I would bring up more on John Fetterman. Senator John Fetterman, during a discussion on media coverage of Iran, he said, I don't know what your network has talked about, but what I'm saying is that whether, like it's the New York Times, they're making it more and more trying to convince America that this has been a disaster or things are out of control, and that's just categorically not true. The outcome thus far has been outstanding. If you look at the metrics, that the missiles and the drone attacks are down in the 90%. And Iran really has been unable to strike back and hit our assets, or Israel, much right now. So after eliminating all the leadership after 7 or 8 days and achieving air supremacy after a couple of days, I think overall, I think it's been outstanding where we are at. He added that it is fair to cover the strike on a school in Iran, but he also said, and this was on CNN, where he had the audacity to say this, he said that the strike on the school in Iran is tragic, but left-wing media is much more angry about the school strike, but that they didn't seem to be as concerned about the Iranians massacring tens of thousands of their young people just a couple of weeks ago. What a great point by Fetterman, saying that, yes, of course you report on what happened at that school, but you're more angry at the U.S. than you are about what the Iranian regime did to their own people to squash the protests. I got to quote him exactly because his due respects. Fetterman said, I would remind everybody listening right now, the United States never ever targets civilians. Iran does, including their own citizens. And they massacred 35,000 of them just a couple of weeks ago. And the left in the media is more angry about talking about this school, and it is a tragedy, but they didn't seem to be as concerned about the Iranians massacring tens of thousands of their young people just a couple of weeks ago, too. He also stated that it is appropriate to investigate the strike, but he didn't want to join in with other Democrats who are criticizing the war, who wrote a letter about investigating the strike. All right, there you go. What we're going to do when we return, we are going, the question is asked, Team Trump, according to the New York Post editorial board, Team Trump needs to start lifting the fog of the Iran war for the U.S. public. I think there's a point to be had there that he needs to get his messaging out and not just leave it up to the people that John Fetterman are talking about there, the left-wing media, who are more angry at America, who they are trying to present this and make you scared that this is not a major success already. So your thoughts on that. Keep your comments, keep your waves coming in. When we return, we're going to hear from Elmira College about their upcoming performance of a rendition of 12th Night. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
At Matar, they only handle motor vehicle accident cases.
No, we're not going to take any lowball offers.
There's nothing William loves more than fighting for his clients and giving them the big money they deserve.
Okay, wow.
But everyone needs an outlet, a chance to get away from it all.
Heads bowed, eyes closed, and now go to your happy place.
Rideshare truck, motorcycle, car, only call William Matar.
It's great to catch up, Jamie. How's business?
Good. Are you up to speed with the new beneficial ownership reporting requirements?
Sort of. What's it about?
It's a new initiative to help fight crimes like money laundering, fraud, and drug trafficking. A lot of small businesses like ours just have to report some basic info to the federal government about the real people behind them.
Does that include my cafe?
There are some exemptions for certain companies, but don't worry. There's lots of guidance on the government's website about who needs to file. Check out fincen.gov/BOI. Filing is easy and free. It took me less than 20 minutes.
Looks like I do have to file. Thanks, Jamie. It's great having a supportive business community.
Reporting beneficial ownership information helps protect U.S. national security. Filing is quick, secure, and free. And it's the law. Learn more at fincen.gov/.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cannon, brought to you by Boss Security and Horsets. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. And in that studio this morning, we're talking about the 12th night. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thanks for being on. So tell us, for people that aren't aware, you sometimes hear Shakespeare and it's a little overwhelming. So tell us about this maybe adaptation of 12th night.
Yeah, so this iteration is more of a modern retelling. It was made by some wonderful people. I believe it's a very recent retelling, fairly recent. And it's condensed so that it's easier for people to understand.
Okay.
And it mixes Shakespearean text with modern texts. All of the songs are in modern texts, where they would be soliloquies in the actual show.
So it's a little easier for the fans, your fans, to get involved. So that's kind of nice. So have you done musicals each other before? Have you done them?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've sang like your whole lives type of thing?
Pretty much for me.
Yeah.
I don't.
Kinda. I started like my freshman year of high school, so it's been like a little shorter amount of time, but.
Sure. Obviously it's got to be more difficult being in a musical than just a normal, like the normal 12th night, isn't it?
Honestly, I'd say that this show is easier than the normal 12th night just because it's shorter.
Okay.
The normal 12th night is 5 acts.
Oh, wow.
And it has, I believe, 4 scenes per act, except for Act 5 only has 1 scene. And it's all a Shakespearean text, so you really have to know what you're saying.
That makes sense now. So tell us each about your individual parts.
Yeah, my character is Viola. She's the main protagonist of our show. She's kind of going through a lot.
Okay.
She's shipwrecked in Illyria. She doesn't know where her brother is or even if he's still out there. And she's really stuck in a little bit of a love triangle with Olivia and Orsino, who is like the Duke of the town. But like her self-discovery is like something that we track kind of over the play, amongst some other things with some other people going on. So,
I play the Countess Olivia.
Okay.
Paramour to the Duke Orsino for around most of the show, and hopeful paramour of Cesario or Viola, as Viola disguises herself and becomes sort of the errand boy for Duke Orsino, and. The Countess Olivia has actually just lost her brother, very sad, and she has basically sworn off of love.
Okay.
She rejects the Duke Orsino, which he's not happy about, because no one rejects the Duke.
Right.
And then almost immediately sets her sights on this new gentleman that is suddenly being very sassy with her. And she's like, oh my gosh, what if I love this person? And her entire journey is the discovery of platonic versus romantic love. Okay. Basically.
And what I thought was interesting, because we were talking about the music, is a little different. I understand that it's how do I want to put it? It's like kind of like jazz, funk, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not like a typical, I shouldn't say typical, but musical. You wonder what it's going to be like. This is kind of a neat adaptation on it.
It's very upbeat. It'll have you tapping your feet, clapping.
Yes, clapping.
You'll laugh. Maybe you won't cry, but you might cry laughing.
Okay, well, that's good. Now, how did you find yourselves getting ready for the role?
I have never really done a Shakespeare like adaptation or show before, so it was really interesting for me to like take a deep dive like into the dialogue to figure out really what I'm saying.
Okay.
And like through that, I was able to kind of piece together who my character is as a person and how much of a transformative journey like she's really going on.
Oh, sure.
So for me, it was more like dialogue based.
Okay.
I've done many Shakespeare shows in the past. Actually, my first professional show was Midsummer Night's Dream that we did in the park.
Oh, yeah.
With Mary Guzzi. And so I wasn't too worried about the text. My worry was when we began rehearsals for this musical, I was not Olivia.
Oh, okay.
I was a different character. I was actually two different characters that were both ensemble and a different named character. So around, I want to say a week in, I was approached and asked to be Olivia. So I had to start from scratch on all of the character stuff that I had done. And so I went back into the text and I tried to figure out more of her inner thoughts than like what she was actually saying, because the Countess is the type of person that doesn't exactly do what she says she is doing inside.
Okay. Well, and you mentioned that you learned that a weekend. How long have you been in rehearsals?
Since early January.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's quite some time.
Yes.
Right. When, as you are nearing, and it's a little over a week away, what does practice look like now as compared to when you first started?
I think now, when we started, it was more finding the characters, and now it's more breathing life into them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it? We all agree. Is it difficult to be a part of this and still take care of your schoolwork? Yes. Okay.
Yeah. There's a really like difficult balance to kind of find between like all of your coursework and still coming to rehearsals, but for me personally, like rehearsal is like my place to just let go. It's like school doesn't matter anymore. Like my homework's probably done, and like coming to rehearsal, it's kind of like its own different ball game, because we do kind of have homework for that as well. Yeah. But it's kind of like you find the balance. A little bit.
Your homework is to play pretend.
Yes, I'm playing pretend.
It's not too bad. Have you found it difficult?
I'm no longer a student.
Oh, okay.
But when I was a student, the most difficult part was finding how to conserve my energy so that I don't completely burn out.
Right. That's what I would think. Because how long is a typical practice?
3 hours?
3 to 4 hours.
And how long is the play?
This musical specifically is around 45 minutes.
Okay, so
wow, that's an hour and a half.
Is it an hour and a half? It just feels faster.
It feels really quick. I think it is an hour and a half with like no intermission.
Yes, no intermission. Okay. But usually musicals are around an hour and a half too. Some can get to 3 hours.
That's a lot.
With intermission. Thank you. But yeah, especially with, I don't want to speak for you, but with a character like Viola, who's so high energy all the time, even just watching from backstage, I'm like, how do you have the gusto?
Yeah, for 3 hours.
That would be insane.
Well, I mean, just for practice-wise, you've got to be exhausted by the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, Viola is like so high energy, but she also has these moments where she can like find her downtime.
Okay.
My biggest thing is I'm running around the theater like in circles, like trying to get to my next entrance. Oh, yeah. So it's like, okay, I gotta like lock back into what I'm doing. No more heavy breathing.
Sure.
You're running in circles. I'm going up and down like a flight of stairs the entire show.
Wow. You guys getting a good workout.
Yes.
Now, you had mentioned earlier the cast. How many people are in the cast? Ballpark.
Last time I counted, it was 17.
Oh, okay.
Around there, yeah.
Okay, so 17. And I always like to do this because I sometimes we forget, but you can't do it without the crew, right? I mean, they're one of the most important parts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have a wonderful stage manager and assistant stage manager who are helping us with music and props. Yeah. There's been a mad dash to find me a ring that fits.
What would you say when you look at this, and you've spent since January, what's your favorite part of the whole experience?
My favorite part of the whole experience has just been bonding with everybody. Yeah. I feel like I have lifelong friends in this cast, and we really are like close-knit in a lot of different ways. And just like those bonds are something that like you have memories of forever, even if you don't talk to everyone after.
Sure.
My favorite part would probably be watching the other actors grow. This is my first role with Elmira College, but as a writer and director myself, I get into that little thing of like, oh, I see this character emerging. I see this character emerging. Cool. And it's so fun to watch all of the students learn how to do this and have experience with intimacy coordinators and fight choreographers who are real professionals and have a safe space to explore.
And your director, I understand, is from Ithaca, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's came here just to help you guys out. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat. All right. So tell me, here's a tough question. What's your favorite song?
My favorite song is "What Kind of Man Are You Gonna Be?"
Okay. You could tell me anything because I've never heard the song. So.
Yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's really comedic.
Okay.
There's a lot of really fun elements. We have some fight choreography. Whether the people doing the fight choreography are made up to know what they're doing, that's something you'll have to see.
Okay. Stay tuned. Okay.
Mine is "You're the Worst."
Okay.
Which is just a fun little drinking song that honestly I hope makes its way out of the theater and into actual bars.
Oh, it's that good. Wow, I'm gonna have to Google search. So again, we are talking about the 12th night, as you see on the bottom of the screen, coming up on March 20th and through the 22nd. Excuse me. Now, can anybody from the public attend this? So it's not just for students; it's for everybody.
Yep, for everybody. Students get in free. It's $5 for seniors and $10 for general admission.
Okay, where's the best place to get the tickets?
Online on the website?
You can find it on the Elmira College Theater website. Yep.
Well, best of luck. I never know how to say that, at the end, because I know that there's rules and all that. But I hope everything goes well, and you're nearing the time. You're almost ready. You think you're ready?
Yeah.
Gonna be good. Well, thanks so much for giving us so much time this morning.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
These are our wetlands, where nature's heartbeat resonates, inviting us to reconnect and explore. Wetlands provide for our basic needs, storing carbon to sustain a healthy atmosphere, filtering pollutants to improve our water quality, and absorbing floodwaters to protect our communities. Just 1 acre of wetlands can store over 1 million gallons of water. A symphony of life flourishes in our wetlands, supporting the needs of hundreds of species. Yet these essential ecosystems face threats of loss and degradation. Ducks Unlimited is the leader in wetlands conservation. Join our mission at ducks.org/wetland benefits and ensure these habitats continue to protect, purify, and nurture life for future generations. A public service from Ducks Unlimited.
Hello, you will feel the difference out there today. About 30 degrees cooler than yesterday, with the temperature struggling to reach 40, west-northwest wind, and partly cloudy skies. So what we have is a seasonable day, but break up from what we see more recently, bottoming out in the low and mid-20s tonight, then going into Friday, mid-40s, still very average for this time of year. We'll have a bump to temperatures here and there, including Sunday and Monday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We've got a lot of viewer comments. It's pretty sad that our elected officials back Iran over America. Their evil is exposed more every day. Thank you, viewer. Comment from a different viewer. Don't let people, we'll say, baloney you that America doesn't support what's going on in Iran. This is from Poll King, who is probably more scientific than any liberal-run or conservative-run poll for that matter. 76.3% of Americans support the ongoing efforts in Iran. Comment from a different viewer. Your inbox isn't the only interesting one. Let me pass this one along. Press makes a big deal of George W. not attending a recent funeral along with 3 other past presidents, but it's very obvious that they have little to chat about. George W. was a grad of both Yale and Harvard. GW served his country as a fighter pilot, is bilingual. He doesn't get caught playing with the help in the White House. He didn't have to pardon his son to get him out of prison. I have some Kool-Aid friends. No, listener LJ. Thank you, LJ. I appreciate that. hope we hear more from you. Comment from a different viewer. Hello, Frank. Well, hello. I cannot imagine the level of confusion and fraud Harris and Waltz would have created in our country if they were in charge. And they add, we had a Bigfoot sighting in Aaron recently. Oh, really? Ooh, they're getting close. We learned this morning that there were 7 sightings in Ohio last week. How we got down this rabbit hole, we'll never know. But I do appreciate it. And Aaron, I know there's some website that tracks all the sightings, and there was one kind of here locally at one point 2 years ago, I think. Ken writes in, so the best way to protect the world is to stop the war against Iran and their nuclear program. And the best way to protect America is to not fund Homeland Security. I assume somehow this makes sense in the sheeple's mind. Yes, the best way to protect the world is to stop the war against Iran. Yeah, that's how they're presenting it and their nuclear program. So to not go after their nuclear program. They're going to do, who was it that said yesterday? Was it Chris Murphy? Who basically said they're going to do it anyway. It's going to happen anyway, which is a very dangerous mindset to have. And yes, but the best way to protect America is to defund Homeland Security. So thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. All right, on the New York State front, how much are we covering this morning, huh? So there's a judge, Chief Judge Rowan Wilson, that has sparked outrage with the wild suggestion to go easy when sentencing criminals. He called the state's current sentencing laws stupid and encouraged people to vote out judges they didn't like. Well, that's a misrepresentation of what he said. I've got 2 pieces on it. So state Republicans filed a complaint on Wednesday claiming Chief Judge Rowan Wilson ran afoul of ethics rules with his comments at a panel discussion hosted by Cooney School of Law in Queens late last month. Wilson, who has served as Chief Judge of the New York Court of Appeal since 2022, advocated for people to vote out judges who dole out lengthy prison terms. So you see how the one piece presents it in a way, well, he was just saying that they're stupid. They don't mention that he thinks it's stupid to dole out lengthy prison terms. He's saying take it easy on the criminals, as if New York State does not take it already too easy on criminals. He implied it was stupid to oppose legislation that would give convicted criminals the right to a second sentencing hearing. They hurt somebody maybe very seriously in the past, but they have come to be a very different person. And now we are spending a lot of money to keep them in prison. That's stupid, he said. It's a very hard thing, I think, given the current sentencing framework, to get judges at the moment of sentencing to think, oh, I would think about this fact that there isn't a resentencing available. Anyway, so saying to be more lenient. He called it very distressing that a judge recently called a defendant an animal who should be locked up for the rest of his life before sentencing him. You can find out who those people are, Rowan said, and when those judges come up to be elected, don't vote for them and get other people not to vote for them. That's something that you can do for me. Now, that is, by the way, that does go against the judge ethics rules. For instance, just to give you a quick kind of wonky look at it, you've seen on this program where we interview candidates who are running for some type of judge position, and we have to keep the questions very limited because we can't get into specifics. Because let's say I said, where do you stand on the Second Amendment? And they say, can't stand it. Well, then if a Second Amendment comes up in one of their cases, they have to recuse themselves. They can have real issues. But then after they're elected, there's only a small window, like I think a couple months, where they can speak about their political beliefs, speak about anything really. Then they have to stay neutral. So that's why if you see if you go to, for instance, a Republican or Democrat dinner, you will never see, unless it's an election year where they have the right to, you'll never see them attending because they can't talk about their political beliefs. It's really strict guidelines that the Republicans are suggesting that Judge Wilson violated. The Republican ranking members of both the State Senate and Assembly Judiciary Committee announced that they are filing a formal complaint against him to the Commission on Judicial Conduct, which investigates alleged misconduct by judges and offers disciplinary rulings that can range from a public censure to removal from the bench. Quote, no lawyer actually who has a brain, well, we already read the comment. Wilson made the comments at the heart of the complaint while speaking at that event. Republicans cited both remarks in the formal complaint that they filed on Wednesday. The most problematic part of that is the last sentence. Judges have been removed from the bench for less. Quote, for me, Palumbo said when he said, vote them out for me. And this isn't coming from a town judge, a district court judge. This is coming from a man who is in charge of an entire branch of government. Republican action against the chief judge seems like it would be a first. Palumbo and his counterpart, Assemblymember Michael Tanausis, charged that Wilson's comments demonstrate improper involvement with politics and shows he cannot be impartial. Now we have a chief judge at a symposium actually telling the public not to vote for judges that he does not agree with, adding that such a political and legislative advocacy doesn't belong in the judiciary. So I wanted to pass that along to you. I'm sure you will hear more about that. Also, since we were talking earlier about gun rights and this idea, and it's in the Senate right now, we're going to be up for a vote of a 10-day restriction on buying guns, that 10-day before you can purchase the gun, a waiting period. That's what I'm looking for. Well, how about this, too? 2 Democratic state lawmakers from Manhattan want to force gun shop owners to display graphic posters about the risks associated with firearms. But Second Amendment proponents quickly fought back against the proposal. Assemblyman Keith Powers and State Senator Eric Botcher unveiled the plan 2 days ago, announcing in a press conference that the legislation would require consumer warnings with striking images about the dangers of guns, similar to flyers that sound the alarm over smoking cigarettes in other nations. Or maybe in the past, maybe you've seen them where in some countries they have on the cigarette pack graphic images. A mock-up of one possible sign shows a small white casket with pink flowers on top and a big teddy bear next to it. Another poster shows a small child reaching into a drawer containing a gun. If one person thinks twice and changes their mind at the counter because of seeing this picture, this law will be worth it, Botcher said. It's extremely dangerous to bring a gun into your home, especially when it's not stored correctly, he added. The legislation builds on a law that requires text-only warning signs in gun shops that was passed by the state legislature back in 2025. So I unfortunately believe that this will go through. A message on top of the photo in the mock-up sign tells gun buyers that access to firearms increases the risk of suicide, death during a domestic dispute, or unintentional death to children, household members, and others. It also includes a number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. The State Department of Health would ultimately design the posters. Gun shops that flout that law, if it takes effect, would be fined $5,000 for the first violation, $10,000 for every subsequent violation within a 12-month period. So effectively shutting down the gun stores. The state legislation is similar to a city law passed last year requiring the 14 New York City stores to put up the alarming signage. But gun rights activists dismissed the proposal as another threat to the Second Amendment. Tom King, president of New York Rifle and Pistol Association, said in an election year they can go back to their districts and say, this is what I did. I put this warning up and it's going to save people, and it's all baloney. It's not going to save anybody, and it's not going to do anything other than become a dust collector on the walls. Putnam County Executive Kevin Byrne, a Republican, argued Albany should worry about criminals who get their hands on weapons and not law-abiding New Yorkers. Just when you think Albany can't come up with another way to trample on the Second Amendment, they prove you wrong. Law-abiding gun owners in New York already face some of the toughest restrictions in the country, and now lawmakers want to slap graphic warning labels on them like they're buying cigarettes. This isn't about safety. It's about stigmatizing responsible citizens exercising their constitutional rights. There you go. We got a couple other New York State issues. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Insurance companies don't make money by paying claims. They make money by denying them. They hire doctors to say you're not that hurt. They bring in lawyers to chip away at your case. They stall, they argue, they cut corners, because every dollar they save is another dollar of profit. At WDC Injury Law, we know their tactics, and we fight back with facts and evidence. If you've been injured in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies control your story.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. We'd never make a separate dinner. And never do that. We'd never let them sleep in our room. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris. Okay, well, I'm not at my desk right now.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Hochul says that new taxes could drive wealthy out of New York. She said, what I want to make sure we are smart about is having a system in place where it's not just taxing for the sake of taxing. She made the case to keep wealthy earners in the Empire State during a forum hosted by Politico. I need people who are high net worth to support the generous social programs that we want to have in our state. There are some patriotic millionaires who want to set up, okay? Cut me the checks. If you want to be supportive, the first step would be, okay, go down to Palm Beach and see who you can bring back home because our tax base has become eroded. So I philosophically don't have a problem, but I have to look at the fact that I am in competition with other states who have less of a tax burden on their corporations and their individuals. The progressive group Working Families Party, which did endorse Hochul in 2022 but is yet to for her re-election, said Governor Hochul is seeing what voters want right now, and voters across the political spectrum, Democrats, Independents, Republicans, all support raising taxes on the ultra-rich. Okay, to our independent viewers and Republican viewers, do you agree with Ms. Jasmine Gripper, the WFP's executive director? Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman said supporting more tax hikes after billions in new taxes and 35 utility increases is a betrayal of taxpayer trust. As governor, I'll cut income and utility taxes for New Yorkers. We've got to take another short break, but there's a really good piece at the New York Post saying that New York's $124 billion Medicaid spending is blatantly full of waste and fraud, and we know Dr. Oz is looking into it, and rightfully so. Cost controls and fraud prevention are important, as well as the scrutiny of a House investigation into Medicaid fraud in 10 states, including New York and California. New York's gargantuan health program is far too fat not to be a prime target for scammers. The state provides free health coverage to well over a third of its population. The national average is closer to a fifth. And powerful special interests, unions, as well as the hospital industry and social services-based political machines scream at the mere suggestion that a dime of it is wasted or stolen. But as they, and I can't go through the whole thing, but so the Empire State would spend $50 billion less if it simply matched the Medicaid standards of the People's Republic of Massachusetts. Yes, Massachusetts. That's an awful lot of money going for things other than covering the healthcare needs of the poor. A couple other things when we wrap up. Get your last second comments in before today's edition of Frankly Speaking is over.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah. You live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
This isn't Children's Library. Create with the 3D printer. Release your inner audio engineer or sewing machine rentals, all with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
I was diagnosed at 65.
37. Earlier than most.
Every 9 minutes, someone is diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
And every one of them can turn to the American Parkinson Disease Association. Visit apdaparkinson.org to learn more and show your support today.
Hello, you will feel the difference out there today. About 30 degrees cooler than yesterday, with the temperature struggling to reach 40, west-northwest wind, and partly cloudy skies. So what we have is a seasonable day, but break up from what we see more recently, bottoming out in the low and mid-20s tonight, then going into Friday, mid-40s, still very average for this time of year. We'll have a bump to temperatures here and there, including Sunday and Monday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. A comment from a viewer. You're talking about taxes right now. 3 years ago, they raised my property taxes $300. I got my tax assessment yesterday, and it went up $47,000. Is that right? In 3 years? How does that happen? Exactly. Thank you. That's why we have so many conversations especially in regards to what Mom Donnie's proposed and like that, of people leaving the state. Comment from a viewer from listener LJ. LJ, we appreciate you writing in. New York Medicaid proposal is just short of Florida's entire budget with 2 million more people. Isn't it shocking? And they don't do audits. It's just, wow. Ken writes in, think about the fact that judges can't express their political opinions. This doesn't mean that they don't have political opinions. It just means that we can't consider their political opinions when electing them to a position where they can judge us while they know our political opinions. Given human nature, does this sound reasonable? No, it does not, Ken. I think they are too restrictive on that, but I would agree with you. Okay, just quickly, because I'm not going to get a chance to get to this, but I don't know if you saw Mom Donnie's wife is in a lot of heat because of the comments she posted and liked that are deemed anti-Semitic. Well, a piece by Seth Mandel says, on coexisting with supporters of October 7th, saying that in the past her actions would be considered incompatible with membership in polite society. But that's no longer the case. Finally, punish people politically for their refusal to recognize what happened on October 7th. Just add it to any public figure's civic record. This isn't holding a grudge, it's just more practical politics. People on the wrong side of October 7th are expecting the benefit from some sort of statute of limitations or the limitations of human memory. Instead, let's help them remember. And they go through a couple of other things that should be done when you hear this anti-Semitism, see this anti-Semitism. By the way, as an update from yesterday, do I have time? On CNN, we told you about the ISIS-inspired bombers in New York, where they posted and said they could have been out for a nice day, but instead they started throwing bombs. It was so outrageous. Well, now Abby Phillip had to apologize for inaccurately reporting that the ISIS-inspired bomb throwers were targeting Mom Donnie. She would try to suggest on Newsnight that it was an attempted terror attack against New York's mayor, Zohran Mamdani. The following day, she said, I want to correct something I said last night. The bombs thrown in New York City over the weekend by ISIS-inspired attackers was thrown into a crowd of anti-Muslim protesters and not specifically targeted at Mayor Mamdani. Hey, wow, we got 3 waves right there from the Gaffer district walking by. The wording was inaccurate, and I didn't catch it ahead of time. I apologize for the error. So CNN taking some heat and some beatings these last few days. That does it for us today. What a fun show. Thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate it. And I hope that you'll join us tomorrow morning, starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Month after year, even decades, you've paid into the insurance system. You've done your part. But when you're seriously injured in a car accident or another tragedy, that system turns its back. Insurance companies care more about pumping up profits and stock prices than paying for your medical bills, your lost wages, or your recovery. At WYDC Injury Law, we fight to make them pay what's fair. If you've been hurt in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies win.
Allegiance from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.